October 22nd, 1879. It was completely dark, every house in America. Around the world, complete darkness. Until Thomas Edison, for the first time in the history, created the light bulb. He successfully, after 10,000 times failing in creating a light bulb, he finally succeeded. There was light. In John 8:12, Jesus was talking to his disciples and the Pharisees, and he said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness and will have the light of the world." So there's a time in my life that I know what that darkness feels like. We're going to talk about spiritual light today, and Jesus is the spiritual light, and a common theme in John's gospel. But there was a time in my life, my freshman year in college, I wanted to make money. I wanted, I was smart in math, I was good at science, I wanted to be an engineer. My dad was a pastor growing up, I never wanted to be a pastor. That was the farthest thing that I ever wanted to do. God has a sixth sense of humor, I know he does. But there was a time in my life where I was walking in darkness. I went to church on Sundays still, but there was the 6 days out of the week that I was doing what Stephen wanted to do. I was going after different girls every week, I was partying, I was doing whatever I wanted to do. And there's those people that you see in your life and they have something different about them. You can see in their eyes how they live their life that there's something different about them. And that person was my brother, because my brother was going down the same path that I was. And he had gone to 2 different schools in Montana his first 2 years in college, and then he came to me and my dad one day, he's like, "I'm not going back to school there." I said, "What are you going to do?" Andrew said, "I don't know." And he went up to to Glacier Bible Camp in Montana, and he just began to pray, and he said, "I think I'm going to go to be a youth pastor." And it shocked our whole family. He's not the type of person that we ever thought would go into the ministry. And that first semester that he came back, I remember I picked him up from the bus stop because there was a really bad snowstorm in Montana. We had 2 feet of snow, and he couldn't drive his car back from Seattle. So I picked him up, and he had been really encouraging. I noticed a difference in his life as he came to Northwest, and as he stepped out and followed God's call in his life, I noticed a difference in his eyes. I picked him up, and he said, "Man, I missed you." And if you know my brother, he's a rough, tough Anaconda, Montana kind of guy. And I just noticed a difference, and he said, "Hey, man, I missed you, and I love you, I've been praying for you." And 2 weeks after my brother left, I spent time with him throughout Christmas break, and I remember that whole time, that whole first semester, I just felt empty, and I felt now I realized it was the Holy Spirit saying, "You need to be with your brother. You need to follow his call." And I remember sitting in the back of my church on a Sunday morning, and I'm pretty sure the night before I had been partying, and I was sitting back there, and Amazing Grace was playing, and I just began to weep. And God called me into the ministry, said, "Stephen, you need to follow your brother." So those people in our lives that you can see the difference, and maybe they brought you to Christ or something like that, but I just want to challenge each and every one of you to be the light that God has called you to be wherever he calls you. It might be a job that you hate, and you hate everyone around you, but you don't know how those people think about you. They might say, "Hey man, that guy has such a positive attitude on life." We need to walk how Jesus walked. We need to imitate how he walked morally, and people are always watching us. You see, society tells me that on my 21st birthday in June that I should have been out partying. I had a couple buddies calling from Montana. They're like, "What are you doing today, man? Are you getting drunk? Are you already drunk?" It was like noon. I was like, "Dude, I'm at the zoo with my girlfriend." They're like, "That's the lamest 21st birthday." I was like, "Dude, we just have, he's like, there's something different about you, man." And I just began to talk to him. He's like, "Do you want to come down to Vegas for my 21st birthday?" I was like, "No, I don't. I don't want to do that." And he's like, "What's different about you?" So I've had the opportunity just to share what's different in my life, and I know that all of us we all have something different that we need to share. So I just encourage you guys to be a light wherever you're working. If you become a pastor, just make that effort in the community that God calls you to get out and reach those people in darkness.